Hi, this is Heather with Creativity by Heather BE. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am showing you a fun birthday card made with stamps from Kindred Stamps. And this is actually a birthday card for my son. He loves this character. We have the Christmas ornament. It is one of his favorites. So I decided to make his birthday card using this stamp set. And the stamp set is called Bursting Love. To make the background for the card, I decided to use different colors of green Distress Oxide. So I'm using Twisted Citron, Peeled Paint, and Mowed Lawn. And I'm going to adhere this to my panel, or add it to my panel, using the Picket Fences Life Changing brushes. These are great brushes. They blend really well. And one of the things I like about them is that they clean off so easily. I was going through the little blending pads like crazy. And so that is one nice thing about these. And when I'm working with them, I usually have a cloth sitting there. So I wanted something very subtle for the background, and you can see that stencil up there in the corner. That is a Kindred Stamp stencil that I actually ended up not using. And in full disclosure, this was actually the second green panel that I created. The first one, I did use that stencil and some Decofoil gel so I could actually foil it. And I set one of my plates to my Big Shot on top of it and ruined it. So that's why I went ahead and created another one. And on this one I am going to do some stenciling, but I'm going to use a different stencil. So I'm just going through and blending this, and I'm not really too careful about the blending. I just want to give it some type of greenish background for him and for the scene. So the character that I'm using here, I'm going to be referring to him as Party Crasher. And if you know anything about Kindred Stamps, you'll understand why I'm using that and not a different name. So I am going to stamp him out using the MFT Extreme Black ink. And this is a great Copic friendly ink. And I have to apologize because my camera shut off when I was doing the Copic coloring on him. The colors that I used were primarily the C colors, so C7, C5, C9. And then when I looked at some images on him online, he did have some brown up in the top of his head, so I used E57 and E29. So this is a stamp set by Honeybee Stamps, and it's called a Celebration Box. And I wanted to have my Party Crasher jumping out of a box that had balloons and stuff. So it's a birthday box and he's coming out. So I'm stamping this out, and then I'm going to use the die there on my left. And this set is really cool because it comes with a couple dies. This die will actually cut out the center of the box. So that way I'm able to pop my little Party Crasher down in the center. And then there's also a die that will just cut out the box. There are two little dies that'll cut out the flaps in the front, so you can have kind of a three-dimensional flap for your box, which is pretty cool. And I did go over it with some Distress Oxide, and it covered up a lot of my lines, so I am going back in with just a fine point black pen and covering drawing those on again, excuse me. This is the stencil that I decided to use, and this is also another Honeybee Stamp product. This one is called Honeycomb. I didn't adhere this down using any pixie spray or purple tape because I wanted to be able to put a little ink on and lift it up and kind of see how much ink I had down, because I didn't want this to be very vibrant. I just wanted it to be really subtle in the background. I wanted that background just to have a little bit, kind of almost like a three-dimensional brick wall type look in some way, but I didn't want to use bricks, so I decided to pull this stencil out instead. And I primarily used Mowed Lawn and Twisted Citron to cover that. And this was very easy to line up as well. So when I put it back down, I decided I wanted to add some Mowed Lawn. It was very simple to add those little line those little honeycombs back up. My camera was also off when I was doing the balloons, and I decided to go ahead and record and show you how I did the blue balloon. I used B00, B01, and B02 to do this. And I have Googled over my time with my Copics a lot of ways to do balloons, to give them dimension, to make them look like they have some shine, and this has become the easiest way for me to do that. So I'm taking my lightest color and I'm leaving a highlighted area up in the top right hand corner. I always leave it in the same place on my balloons. I don't really worry about the light source. That's just where I always leave my highlight. And then I'm going to go in with my medium shade that I'm using, which is B01. And for this one, I'm going to drag it and give it a little bit of that rounded look. And I am going to take this one up behind that highlight as well, and also bring it up from the bottom. And then I'll go with my darkest color, the B02, and just add some of that highlighting on the bottom. I'm not really going to take it up all the way on the side, and I'm not going to take it up behind that highlight. So now I'm just going to work backwards. I'm going to go to my B01, and then I'll blend everything out together with my B00. And that's how I do my balloons. Like I said, it's not the best probably method to do, but it works for me. So with Copic coloring, it can sometimes become a frustration for me. So I try really hard to keep it fun. And, you know, it's okay if it doesn't look perfect, if it doesn't look like somebody else's. I'm just happy with what I'm able to do with them. So there you can see the final balloon. This is the little guy after he was colored with Copics, and I did add some Nouveau Crystal Glaze to him. And then you can see the box, which also on the box, I did end up taking E23 and doing some shadowing on the box there, as you can see. So I wanted to have one of his little feet stepping out, so it looked like he was actually trying to get out of the box. And then I'm going to have my balloons up behind him. And originally I had strings on the balloons, which you'll see here in a moment. But when I thought about it, when you have balloons that are coming out of a box or a bag or something like this, they don't have strings on them. They're usually just filled with helium and thrown in, you know, whatever they're going into. So I did remove the strings, which I'm kind of glad. I liked it better without the string, and I think the strings were too busy. There would be too much going on in this background. So nothing is adhered down. I'm just kind of moving things around, placing the balloons, trying to figure out where I want them. And I do have this pink one, and you can see I kind of went out of the lines on my coloring. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide that. I decided it was worth salvaging, so I'm just going to hide it behind his head. So for the sentiment, I'm using one of the ones from the stamp set, and this is called Happy Birthday. And I decided that I wanted the sentiment to be on the two sides of the box. I didn't want to add a sentiment with a banner or anything. The card was very busy, and I thought the box would be cute. So in order to do that, I had to cut my stamp. I'm sorry for all of you that are cringing. I promise you they go right back together, and I really find that if you are cutting your stamps, you're able to get so many more uses out of them, like in this case. So I've never had a problem cutting them. I'm very careful, and I use usually my smaller scissors as I did there. So I'm using VersaFine black ink. I find this ink to be the best when I'm stamping out a sentiment. If I'm not heat embossing it, this is the ink that I generally will go to. So I've got my sentiment stamped out. So as I can get a hold of it, I'll bring it up and show you so you can see the Happy Birthday on either side, which I thought came out really cute. So what I did with the box is I added just regular adhesive down to the actual box, and now I'm adding foam tape to the back, and I'm using the little pieces that are sitting on top of my foam tape. I will put little extra pieces on top. As you can see, I still have one sitting there, and when I need a smaller one like this, then they're there and ready for me instead of wasting it. So I had to lay that pink balloon down because it's behind his head just to make sure I had it lined up correctly, and that one is just flat onto the panel. The other balloons, with the exception of I do actually end up popping up the red one. There's going to be a purple one right near his head that is not raised with foam tape, but all the others have to mention. And I did cut this panel down and add it to a piece of Lawn Fawn Fog cardstock. I wanted to have some type of border, but I didn't want anything really dark, and I didn't want stark white. So that's the card panel put together. Now all that's left to do is just add it onto my card base, which my card base is Neenah 110 pound Solar White. And if you're not familiar with Kindred Stamps, I highly encourage you to check out their website. They have so many fun stamps, and stamps that you can really relate to probably several people in your life, like this one with my son. And there's so many fun things that you can do with them. They usually have some great little punny, snarky sayings that are just awesome. So I hope you enjoyed this card. And if you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber, I hope you'll consider subscribing to see future videos. And as always, I welcome comments and I love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much and have a great day.